Today, on Plastic Surgery Uncensored, Dr. Roddy Raban is going to actually walk us through how he got these two twins, which were featured on the doctors, to not only look younger, but look more alike. It was very important to them to maintain their, should we say, identicalness. So we're going to have Dr. Roddy Raban take it away and explain step by step how they looked younger, better, and more alike.
All right, so here we are in another episode of Plastic Surgery Uncensored, and we have a very special guests.
Wow.
Normally we have a special guest. Today we have special guests.
Wow.
And they happen to be our dynamic twin duo, Melody and Eileen. And you guys always say, I wouldn't know who you are, but I do. I know that you're Melody and I know that you're Eileen. How about that?
I think you're guessing.
It.
You got a 50-50 chance.
Listen, those are good odds. 50-50 is pretty good. So we want to really get together, and you know, the purpose of our podcast, as you know, is to get information to our listeners that is beyond marketing, beyond fluff, that really is helpful in them, in their lives, in terms of making decisions and going about. And we want to tailor that and dovetail that through interesting stories through people, right? We learn through people's journeys. And so we're really appreciative that you guys are going to be here and share about your experience. And hopefully people listening will glean some kind of information, and that will make their journey that much better. So let's start with the obvious. You guys are twins, and we met because we met on the doctor's show, right?
That's
so
right,
we just recently did your reveal on the doctors, which was really exciting, and
Very
I think
fun.
exciting for me, and hopefully it seemed like it was exciting for you guys.
A lot of fun.
So the backstory was that when we met, the issue was that you guys had been twins all your life, and interestingly, a lot of twins don't like being twins, right? They're doing anything they can to not be a twin. And you guys really enjoyed, which says a lot about your relationships, being twins. And you felt as you had aged, you guys kind of stopped looking similar.
Exactly.
So two things were happening. One was that you were aging,
Right.
in and of itself,
Not
which is
fun.
not so much, not desirable.
No.
In addition, you were aging differently.
Correct.
That's right.
And so we had the task at hand
right.
to rejuvenate you, make you look younger, yet look more alike, which
Correct.
is kind of a
Hard thing.
hard thing, or more of a one-of-a-kind experience. And I'm really excited that we took on that challenge. And so let's start out with the emotional concept, because it's not every day that we're going to talk to twins, right?
Okay.
So tell us a little about what it was like to be twins growing up, but more importantly, what it was like as you started to look at each other and realize that you don't have that twinness going on anymore. And either one of you can chime in.
I think as growing up, we actually didn't like being twins because we were always just the twins, and we didn't have our own identities. So we kind of pushed that twin thing out a lot as little kids. But growing up, as we got older and became adult twins, and we were still looking very similar, we're going, this is a cool thing. So we really dug being twins, and we dig being twins now. And we want to stay looking twins. And now, you know, we're having a lot of fun with it, because every time we go somewhere, we trick people as many times as we can. And
Right.
And so as we were getting older, we're finding we're starting to look a little different, and now we really want to look the same. So that's when I wrote out a big letter to the doctors, and then they reached out to you, and you took on the task to keeping us the same, but still we're still ourselves. But you took on this task, which I think wasn't an easy task. But I think you did a marvelous job, I have to
thank
say,
you.
because we were having so much fun with this.
Good.
And then some of the challenges that we face as we've gotten older. I'm always been a little bit heavier, and my face is rounder, and her face is thinner. So that was a little bit tough on you to try
Right.
to.
So that was one of the,
give
because
her
I
the
wanted to get your
volume.
opinion as to what you thought was changing that would lead that you guys, what was, because people are going to say, you're twins. I mean, what the hell?
Yeah.
You're twins. But the reality is that there are so many other factors that are
Right.
environmental
Correct.
that will help, will lead you to be apart. So you were saying
Well-
one of them was that you're rounder
Right,
faced
my
and she
face-
was leaner.
Right.
Right.
And then, I mean, we pretty much were in the sun the same amount.
Right. Yeah.
We kind of grew up doing the same things. So basically, really, the thing that I think is making the difference for us is my face being a lot more rounder now, and her face being a lot thinner. And we were having the droopy jowls and the wrinkles and all of those things that were, I mean, just a huge part of aging. It was just aging.
Yeah, we don't like
Right.
to
And
eat.
part of the reason why you guys have that difference in facial structure, which is something interesting, because you guys as twins and twins in general serve as a huge educational petri dish for people to learn. So you have the genetic, everyone loves to argue about plastic surgery, aging, disease process, whatever, about nature versus nurture, right?
Right.
So the nature part is that you guys are genetically identical.
Correct. That's what they, yes.
But what's changed is the nurture part, which
Right.
is your life experiences.
Right.
And while you experience a lot of things similarly, clearly you've experienced things differently. So
Right.
for example, you are a trainer.
Right.
You are an administrator at a school, so your lifestyles are different.
Right.
Right.
And that
Very much.
probably is the biggest component
is
that
the
leads
biggest
to
difference,
you having a rounder face, aka carrying more fullness in your face, you having a leaner face, aka burning a lot more fat.
Correct.
Right.
That is
Right?
exactly right.
So what we like to underscore, and people always, you got to take ownership, and I'm not saying that you didn't, but for other people who smoke and eat terribly and then go to the tanning salon, and they always want to come to a plastic surgeon and say, hey, just fix this. And
Right.
you're trying to tell them, well, you have to own
Right.
the lifestyle components of what's leading you here, so that if we do something, you have a better outcome. So like, you can't go to a tanning salon and lay in a tanning booth for 2 hours a day and then expect to have marvelous shiny skin.
Right.
Correct.
And for me, I do work out and I do exercise, not as much as her. So I do have a healthy lifestyle,
Right.
not as healthy as hers. So
Although she did eat a chip the other day. And
I
I
did.
told her
You had
I
a
told
chip?
her not to have
We're
one.
gonna.
I said,
And a
Eileen,
piece of
why are you
licorice.
eating that chip?
Well,
so I mean, I do.
you're attached to a Jewish mom at all times.
for
It's gonna guilt.
sure.
Oh my gosh.
For sure.
Who's gonna
You know,
guilt you to
and
death?
boy, do you
Totally. Oh my God. For
Isn't
sure.
that the truth?
So I mean, for me, our lifestyles, although different, I do try to have a healthy lifestyle. But the exercise and that routine is much different.
makes a
than
Of course,
difference.
listen,
It does
and as
make
a
a
result, you and of yourself look amazing. Had we not had her, not that she looks more amazing, we wouldn't know that there's a distinction in lifestyle. It's not to suggest that she takes care of herself and you don't.
Right.
It's just to suggest the power of lifestyle in general.
Correct.
And you know, if you come in as a singular individual, it's very hard for me to tell you, well, the reason why you X, Y, and Z, it's because of your lifestyle. You'll say, no, it's genetic, my mother, my grandmother.
Right.
But in your instance, we have eliminated that component. And
Right.
so we can really say X, Y, and Z. So
Correct.
I think that's really, really interesting. So let me kind of delve in a little bit just for our listeners who can't see you. And let's talk about what it exactly is that you came in with and what we did. Essentially what it is you guys are now turning 63.
Yeah.
And you look
Don't
fabulous.
Rub
We
it
just-
in.
We just had a little dialogue off mic, and a lot of people thought you were in your 50s, and that's a
Yes.
great sign. Because
Thanks
if they
to
said
you.
you look like you were in your 40s,
I like
they'd either
that.
be lying or you'd look weird, right? So you want to look like you're in your 50s.
I
'cause
don't know.
that's-
40 might be okay too.
promise you that you would be.
That'll be next year. We're coming back.
Yeah. So what happens as you age? So what happens is some basic things happen, and no one is immune from it. Number one, you start to develop some looseness in skin. That's elasticity. And where does that skin occur? It occurs in your brows. So you start having your brows to sag. You get loose skin in your eyelids. You get loose skin along your jaw, and you get loose skin in your neck. So that's for sure. Second thing that happens more so in Melody than in Eileen was you start to lose volume. And volume is something that we're now paying a lot more attention to than, say, 20 years ago. 20 years ago, we were all about cutting, remove, cutting. That's why people looked really tight and hollow. I think the pendulum swung a little bit too far to the other side, which is volume, volume, volume. That's why everybody now looks like ducks and they look like pumpkins. But the idea is that you also need to have fullness, because if you look at your youthful pictures, you had more volume in your cheeks, more volume along your jawline, more volume in your eyelids. So you have loose skin, as we described, and loss of volume. And the third component is skin quality and skin surface, and the difference between thick, oily skin versus dry, wrinkly skin. So what we did together, and again, the treatments were actually identical, right? We did the exact same things for both of you in just different degrees.
Right.
Okay.
So we did a brow lift. We removed a little bit of upper eyelid skin, but in both of your instances, and this goes to kind of, we added volume to your upper eyelids, which sounds counterintuitive because everyone comes in and is constantly like, I want to remove skin. Look at all this. And in your instance, you had hollowed out. We added volume to your upper eyelids. And then we did a legitimate facelift, which has 1,000 terms online or out there. We have mini facelift, lunchtime facelift, neck lift, and then S lift, this, that. They're all the same. We
Okay.
did a facelift, which is for your neck and jawline.
Okay.
And then we added volume. And we added volume in two ways. We added volume in terms of fat, right? Which
Right.
is, everyone's talking about that on, in fat transfer to the butt and fat transfer to this. We borrowed fat and we injected it in their face, which really helped kickstart the process. And then afterwards, whenever the dust had settled, we came in and we did some refinement. And the refinement was in the form of fillers. And fillers we open up in the office, and they are temporary, but they're kind of like, we change grit of sandpaper, right? We started out with the thicker, coarser sandpaper with surgery. And then in the office, we kind of dialed it down to a thinner, more fine, coarser sandpaper just to kind of smoothen the edges. And we did the same thing for both of you, but obviously with Mel, we did more fat, more filler, because you needed more volume,
Okay.
right? And that was a key component. And I think that's really important. Now, that facial rejuvenation recipe, it doesn't matter if you're twins, it doesn't matter if you're African American, it applies to all people as we age, because inevitably we are all on the same planet and we're all exposed to the same gravitational forces, okay?
Right.
So I think that's definitely. So the next question is, so tell me a little about your expectations. So we met and we discussed this. What were your fears? Because your fears are going to be different than, say, the average person's fears, because there's two of you.
Right.
And you have an expectation that
Right.
you'll.
Well,
Well,
our number one
my-
fear was we wanted to look the same
Right.
in the end. That
Did
was
you think
prob-
that was, were you worried that you would look different?
that
Well,
was
here's the thing with us. It's never that we wanted to look exactly the same. We just never wanted to not look
the same?
different. Does
Yeah.
that make sense, what I just said?
Sure.
And so when going into surgery, we were afraid that we would look very different than what we had hoped for.
From each other, or from what you started as?
I think
From
each,
well, maybe
You
a
see
little
how
both.
that's a
Maybe
different
little
issue?
both.
It's both. A little
You see how
both.
that's a different issue?
Yeah.
Because the average patient says, I don't want to look too much different than I do.
Exactly.
You
that was
guys also have, I don't want to look so much different than
her. So we had a little both.
Yeah,
we had
I'd
a little
say
both.
I'd say
Yeah.
both. It was.
You want to go in going, I don't want to come out completely stretched out. And as Eileen said on the doctors, we came out, we didn't look plastic. We didn't want to be plastic.
Okay.
So
And the
that
twin,
was
and the twin element, did you guys were worried that you would look further apart?
right. We didn't want to be further apart. Exactly. So that
Right.
was you had a task at hand by doing all that. So that was a concern we had going in, wondering
Any
about
other
that.
concerns?
Well,
The pain, of course, is a
Thinking-
concern.
So let's talk about the pain,
Yeah.
because I try to explain to people every surgery has its own legit pain. You come in for a tummy tuck, I tell you it is going to hurt. You come in for facial rejuvenation, and I tell you it tends not to be that painful.
Right.
How was your experience when you recovered?
It was not.
I was really surprised actually.
The pain was like nothing. Honestly,
I wouldn't say pain. I would say it was more
uncomfortable because
Uncomfortable.
you got to
But there-
sit up the whole time and you don't want to touch
Right,
it.
it's
And
inconvenient, but there wasn't striking
No.
pain.
Oh my
There
gosh,
was
not
like
at all.
some tightness and stuff like
Sure.
that you feel. But I was really, really surprised.
And
how,
I think both of you have had previous surgeries of other sorts, so you know what pain is.
Right.
Right.
And you
Right.
told us that we weren't going to be in pain, but you could tell somebody this stuff all the time,
Right.
and it's like everybody experiences things so differently.
And I think that's important because we want to share that, because the point of the podcast is to not to make people feel good or bad, is to tell people the truth.
honest truth.
Right.
The truth is, if you want to have a tummy tuck, I'm going to tell you that it's going to be an uncomfortable recovery. If you want to have facial rejuvenation, I'm going to tell you that the discomfort is quite minor and
Very
relative.
minimal.
Now, how long before you guys could put on some makeup and say go to work for you, Eileen?
I went to work on the, I want to say the 10th day.
Okay. And-
I had very little bruising, and the little bruising that I did have, I was able to put some face makeup on.
Right. So we
Nobody
usually
knew.
tell
Nobody
patients
knew.
facial surgery, if done appropriately, you want to give yourself 7 to 10 days before you're like, put on some makeup, and not you look amazing, but you're like presentable.
Right.
Yours was different, right?
Yeah,
Because you
you-
are doing what?
A lot of physical activity,
'Cause you
jumping,
do-
teaching classes.
You teach aerobics and Zumba and
Yelling
things
at
like that.
people
So,
and training and-
so for an administrative job, one can expect facial rejuvenation of any sort, eyelids, necks, this, that, the other, 7 to 10 days.
Right.
Totally.
From a
Completely.
physical job, AKA I'm a trainer, how long before you really felt like you could?
I actually felt like in 7 days, I felt back to normal. I didn't look back to normal, but I felt back to normal. And you wouldn't let me go back to the gym for like 6 weeks.
Correct.
I went back at 5.
Okay. But there's
Only-
so that brings up the point.
Because you-
There's
I didn't want you to know.
There's a difference between when you can go back to a desk job and when you can
Yeah.
go back to physical strenuous activity because of healing and blood supply and swelling and
Although
of
I
that
felt
nature.
great, I felt like I could teach a class in 2 weeks. I felt like I could go back to it, but
Correct.
I know that I
Right.
couldn't because I didn't want to move the stitchings where I was
Right, and you
healing.
had fat
and
transfer that you
all
need to
that
have
stuff
heal,
had to stay.
right?
So I mean, I
So-
felt like I could, but
So
I know I
think
couldn't.
I think those things were, and I think that what it is what we discussed. You guys physically experienced, and I think that's really, really important. And in terms of, let's talk about reaction, right? Because we do this. Well, everyone likes to come and say, "Oh, I do this. I'm doing this for myself." Yes, we do things for ourselves, but then we live in a world of society, and and we don't like to say that we do it for other people because it's so frowned upon. But we do everything for everybody else. We always want to do it for a combination of ourselves and our community and our friends and our family. So tell me what your experience individually was
Yeah.
in terms of your work.
Yeah.
And you were saying that you work.
Well, I'm in a youthful industry. Everybody at the gym is mostly fit and they're young and they're, I'm in a youthful industry. And I was thinking to myself before all this, I'm that old lady now at the gym and I just didn't want to be that. Although I think, overall, like I said, body wise, I always felt like I fit in, but it was my face that was getting to me. So, of course, I had to tell everybody I was going to be out for a while and what was happening and all these kind of things. And the reaction I got when I got back from the whole thing was, you look amazing. You don't look extremely crazy different, but your skin's better. You're looking you're more youthful. You look younger. I was getting all those reactions from everybody. It was like there wasn't this major, oh my gosh, what did you do? It was wow. I could tell.
Right. And something you touched about, I want to touch about is we always want to know the psychology behind things. Because there are people that are out there going, I don't understand. Why would you ever do this to yourself? You're young, you're healthy, you're fine. Come on.
great.
You could die, blah, blah, blah. So there is a psychological component, whether it's unhappiness, insecurity, that drives us, which is fine. So yours, you were just touching on it, was that you would go to the gym, your body was like young because you did your exercise part, but somehow you didn't feel congruency with your face. And you felt maybe insecure about the fact that your job and so
I want it. You want to look good no matter what you do and how you do it. But I don't know if I was insecure because I'm a pretty secure person, but I didn't really like what was happening in my face. It was just I wasn't where I needed to be or where I should be. But
and no exercise could fix that, right?
No exercise can fix
You're
your
not going
face.
to this because the viewers can't, the listeners can't see, but you're 5'5". How tall are you?
5'1.5".
5'1.5", and how much do you weigh?
I'm about 107.
So you are incredibly fit for your weight and height. So this isn't about, well, you should have gone and worked out.
No.
Facial aging is, as a matter of fact, it's the exact opposite. The heavier you are with facial aging, the better you look.
Right.
It's the leaner you are with facial aging that the older you look. So it's one of those things that it isn't about, oh, well, you should have eaten better or taking better care of yourself. It's just a natural part of it.
And we have friends that look at us and go, why do you guys go to the gym so much? I mean, why do you do that? I mean, just enjoy how you are, but that's a part of our life and that's who we are. And it's all it's all comes together about looking good from head to toe. And that's just our lifestyle. That's what we want to
Maybe
do.
people think we're vain. I don't
Yeah, I
think
don't
we're
know.
vain. I think we want to look our best. We want to feel our best. And
Yeah.
we can do whatever we can at the gym, but we can't always do what
Right.
we need to do for our face.
It's
So
just- it's not-
it's a choice. We want to look better and feel better.
And look
I don't
younger.
think
Why
we're
not?
insecure. I just think we're just
Hold that thought. So we're going to take a little quick break. We're going to
Okay.
come back and talk about two more things before we wrap up. One of them is going to be, I want to talk about this concept of beauty shaming, because it's a huge topic now. We've come full circle now, with the whole Me Too movement. I want to talk about that. And then the second is I just want to touch on the most obvious component, which is how much does this crap cost? Because at the end of the day,
Jeez.
it's really easy to say and talk about it, but it's a reality that at the end of the day, if you want to do it, there's a cost associated. So we're back with Plastic Surgery Uncensored. This is Dr. Roddy Raban, and we're speaking to some of my favorite patients and my number one set of twins,
Absolutely.
Melody and Eileen. And we were just talking about your journey, and we segued on a topic I think is super important to talk about, and you can never talk about it too many times, and we touch on it on a lot of other podcasts, which is the idea of what does it mean that you should love yourself the way you are, and this idea that what is too much, and is it worth going under the knife, and what people do for the sake of vanity. And in the wake of the Me Too movement and this empowerment of women, there's a lot of backlash about or shaming of individual women and men, but a lot of the pressure falls on women when it comes to doing cosmetic surgery because it makes you feel better. I will give you my 2 cents worth after the fact, but I want to hear your experiences because you're two successful women who are working, you do all the right things, and you chose to undergo surgery. And I'm sure you might have maybe or maybe not had mixed feelings. And I want to know what your thoughts on that is. So I'll start with you, Mel.
My thoughts on having the
whole, did you experience any kind of shame?
No.
Did you worry that did anyone say anything to you?
I didn't experience any shame because this is something I wanted to do. So it doesn't matter to me what other people really say about it. We have friends that said, "Why are you guys doing this? Just be the way you are and be happy with how you look and just age gracefully and all that." But I didn't experience any shame. But I did this for me, and I did this because I want to stay looking younger. And it makes me happy to look.
Okay, so you didn't get anybody who made you feel bad. What about you?
I not bad,
bad.
but I did have people, some of my close friends say, why would you do that? Why would you go under the knife? Why would you want to put yourself through that? I did have that. And it did kind of bother me that my friends would say that because it's something that I wanted to do. If everybody has different feelings on same things, different things, and some of my friends thought I was kind of crazy. They thought I looked fine, and why am I doing that?
What would you guys say about this whole concept about female empowerment, and that you guys are having to do this because the social pressures of women are to stay pretty, and it isn't so for men? For example, that's a huge hot button.
That's not why I did it.
Yeah.
I don't care about that. I don't care what other people are doing or what they're saying. I wanted to do this. I wanted to feel better about myself. I wanted to look better.
Right.
I don't care about what anybody else is saying, or I don't attach it to that at all. It's just what I want to do, what Melody wanted to do, and it was our decision, and nobody was telling us, there's no movement or anything that was making us go one way or the other. It's what we want to do. We've always wanted to do it, and we had an opportunity to do it, and we wanted to do it, so we did it.
I think that's true, and I think you guys are obviously represent a very secure, you can hear it in your voice. You guys are both very strong, very both secure in who you are. And I think that in general, no one is more in favor of female empowerment. No one is more in favor of the notion of loving yourself the way you are, etc. But having experienced plastic surgery from my vantage point, that is the incredible power of transformation that I've seen in the lives that have improved as a result of what we've done. There is no doubt, none whatsoever in my mind, that when you operate on someone who has, like you do, who are good candidates, it catapults them into another stratosphere of self-confidence.
Right.
And so I think it's great that we're in this phase of female empowerment, but I think we sort of pushed the pendulum now, and we're now shaming some of these people who want to do things, so they're just very private about it.
Right.
So our last section here is going to be about costs, so we did your surgeries pro bono for the program, which was an incredible opportunity, and it was a pleasure of mine. But the reality is not everybody has this chance and opportunity. So let me just give a little bit of insight for our listeners, because they're like, yes, I love it. And then what?
Yes.
So brow lifts on average, we're going to say somewhere range between 7,000 and 12,000. Eyelid surgeries usually around 35 to 55. Facelifts range between, let's say, 15 to 25. Fat transfers, another 3,500. And then fillers, it all depends. Why is it important to have this discussion? And every single segment we talk about cost, because you can't have a conversation without it, because that's a reality. The issue is that whatever you decide to do, like the decision you made to purchase that beautiful car, or the decision you made to buy that beautiful home, or that vacation and cruise you went on, these are choices we make. And one has to plan appropriately in terms of the value it brings to you, and no one can tell you one way or the other. So the key is to know what's a reasonable price. Again, I always say if you're paying a lot more than that, it's probably just price tag based, meaning you went somewhere and they're telling you they're a celebrity surgeon, and it's probably BS. And if you're paying a lot less than that, I think you should be super cautious, because, if you walked into a car dealership and they said this car here is $1,400, I think it's pretty safe to assume it's missing some things, maybe some tires, maybe a steering wheel. So everything has a reason. But again, it's been a real pleasure to have you.
Yes.
Thank you guys for
the
coming.
opportunity.
Thank you. If it wasn't for you, we would have never had this opportunity.
Well,
So
you
you
know,
appreciate
life
it.
is about
You have
serendipity. So
changed our lives, and we appreciate it.
it's a pleasure of mine. You guys
amazing.
are well worthy of the experience.
Let's do it again in a year.
Let's do it.